And I think we are live. All right.
Cool.
Well, welcome back to the People's Guild. Another week, another episode. A whole bunch of guests, a bunch of your favorite community members here. Some that you are pretty familiar with, and some that frequent our show here at the People's Guild as either guests or panelists on the Battle Royale. We're celebrating our 100th episode. It's kind
Woo!
of crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've been
Happy
doing this
birthday.
thing for
Happy
yeah, thanks guys.
anniversary.
Doing this thing for a couple of years now, and never thought we'd see the 100th episode, but here we are, and it happens to coincide with an even bigger milestone in Splinterlands history, the six year mark.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so welcome everybody. Thanks for
Hey,
hanging
everybody.
out.
No, thanks for having
Hey,
us.
thanks for having us.
You know, I just popped on like minutes ago. We went live. I would love introductions across the board because I don't think I'm even familiar with everyone's face, so I can associate a name with the face.
Okay.
Baby, go ahead, man. You're top left.
Okay. Well, I'm like more than 5 years now in Splinterlands. Streamer. Recently on Splinterlands TV, and now I'm co-hosting a show with Stever82, which you have been once, but we would like to have you again at some point.
Nice.
Yeah. What else can I say? Um, I'm notorious for being very opinionated, according to this guy over there, Jangles. And yeah, I usually always try to see the positive in every negative decision. That's about it.
I wasn't sure if you're pointing at him or if you're pointing at Tails on that one. So
I thought you were just pointing at the crowd, but you singled me out,
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah, I'm not going to mention names, but Bijangos.
Well, we love your opinions here, baby. They're always welcome, dude.
Thank you.
Hep, I think everybody knows you, but you want to toss a little intro for those that don't?
Yeah, I've been co-hosting. I was looking to see how many of these 100 episodes I've actually been co-hosting on. So I think I kind of came in around episode 55. So a little bit past halfway. So yeah, it's been a while, and that was a little over a year ago at this point. So yeah, because it was like right around the 5th anniversary when we were kind of doing our run of getting like Azercron and Dave and them on to kind of talk about the background of the game from those times. And yeah, then we had Bebe and Steve and stuff on. Yeah, so yeah, it's been a while. It's been a lot of fun. So really glad still kicking it here with everybody.
That's pretty cool.
Mr. Virus?
Euro 5.
Well, I'm not a streamer. I'm more of a stream straggler, but just kind of hop on.
Hangers on.
Yeah, hop on, and I'm just a player. Like playing with these guys, and usually getting whooped by some of them sometimes, but put up a fight.
Now it is virus, but spelled in leet speak, or is it Viru 5? Which is it?
If you're anyone else, it's Virus. If you're Matt, it's Viru 5.
Yeah, we're just teasing. We're just teasing.
All right, Mr. Tails?
Yeah, been here at Splinterlands playing since 2021. My face hasn't aged at all in 3 years here on the screen. It's very master of the crypt here, and yeah, I think I would say that probably I'm the spiced Bebe Sugar. So yeah,
and you have your own channel, don't you?
I do. Yeah, I have.
I think I've seen a video or two.
Yeah, maybe one or two. Hopefully in 3 years. But yeah, things are good. Happy to be on here celebrating People's Guild 100 episodes. That's crazy. You guys have been on fire for quite some time, and it's great to see the things that you guys are doing with the surveys and the proposals, and yeah, lots of good things to come. So
cheers, Tails. Mr. Patton, what's up, Rouge? Glad you could join us, man.
Yo, sorry.
We're just going around the horn doing a little intro. You mind telling Nate, telling the folks who you are?
Yeah, hi, my name is Rogue Patton. I'm addicted to trading cards.
Nice.
But
Beautifully
yeah.
done, man. That didn't sound rehearsed at all, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've been here. Came in 2020. Ah, goodness, I don't even know when it was. It was after Untamed, before Chaos, a little bit after SPS started. So been around for a minute. Did the Splinterlands TV for quite a while, and yeah, now I'm father of four, and life is crazy.
Wow. And would you say it's the game that helped you become a father of four?
I tell you what, yeah, it definitely helped.
Okay.
That's for sure. More time at home, because the other trading card games I played, I had to travel for those and, leave the house, and a little bit
Oh,
more time with
wow.
my wife while I was playing Splinterlands, could just play on my phone, produce kids.
So it's possible some of your kids' very existence is dependent upon the game itself. So
I
that's
would say so.
incredible.
Yes,
Okay.
I am more attentive, and more at home because my hobby is now Splinterlands.
That's
Oh,
Did
amazing.
you name any of your kids after any Splinterlands cards?
No,
Yeah,
not yet.
O'Shannis Patton. You got little baby O'Shannis Patton.
That'd be weird. Yeah, it's like this is Jay and this is Jackson and this is O'Shannis. What? Yeah, life got crazy after COVID. That's why we started.
I find there's so many. I feel like there's a lot of like Coras now. Like I don't know. My kids' daycares. I feel like there's at least a couple Coras.
Do
I
you
don't know if it's
scowl at
spelled
them?
exactly the same,
Like
but
like as soon as they're like, this is core, and you're just like,
Well, my son's name is Katroba.
yeah, Katroma. Yeah.
and one more coming up.
Yeah, we got the baby's better half, other half, lesser half.
Okay,
One of the two.
let's agree on other, not better. Come on.
let's
That's
let's see
humor.
let's see how
That's
let's see if Steve can get names right today.
that's
He's
humor
still connecting, but
we are talking about. Yeah.
yeah. So while Steve is popping on, we had a bit of an explosion in Glint expenditures in the last 24, 36 hours. I saw Royal Eagle post something like some ungodly amount of Glint was burned on the ultimate chest. Was this a miscalculation, or was this a distinct calculation to burn the shit out of all the Glint in the ecosystem as quickly as possible, Nate?
Well, one sounds smarter than the other. So I'm tempted to go with what sounds smarter. But to be honest, it's probably just like, I think Matt said earlier internally to the team, like, guys, I'm trying to run the company and look at product design and let's fix this. Hurry up, let's go. So, we luckily, the team was able to rectify any quirks to the algorithm to accommodate how it needs to be. And so that happened rather quickly. So that's good. I'm glad to see that our team is small and nimble enough to adapt to situations like that. And I know I saw a little bit of salt thrown, like, hey, you guys should have a handle on this, and the you guys should know by now, and shoulda, woulda. Yeah, we get that, but we're also human. We make mistakes, and thankfully, this was not a game-breaking thing. This was something that actually ended up being beneficial for the people who took advantage of it. So I think if a mistake was going to be made, at least it went to the benefit of the players, right? It could have been a mistake that went the other way. So luckily, it looks like we got a healthier system in place now in the reward shop, and going forward, hopefully,
Well, Nate, you guys
a
just
lot better.
you guys just kicked off the sixth birthday with a bang, man. That's the
Yeah.
story.
I
I'm
thought
happy to
you
see
would-
that much glint just getting gone. So
Yeah, nuked, right?
never
that is
seen.
something that I was concerned with. I think other people were concerned too. Like, okay, this will be the first time where we release a reward set, and people have been stockpiling to prepare for it, and that was a concern. Obviously, like, I'd hate to see like, the knee-jerk reactions that occur with the community if suddenly, half the player base has max levels and the other half have nothing, and they're trying to compete against one another, and it's frustrating, So I was very happy to see some of that stockpile disappear. So I think the more we could do that between now and when the next batch of reward cards, I don't know, goes into circulation, the better.
I never seen the birthday boy giving out presents instead of receiving, but hey, I'm not complaining.
No, I think it was interesting from my perspective. It was definitely a live example of something that, I know Infidel talks about a lot. It's like just being aware and being present to take advantage of opportunities when they show up. There were people that took advantage of that opportunity and really kind of benefited from what I believe, was a miscalculation. But two, after this calculation, I am actually really curious to see if that item with the jackpot still performs probably not at the ungodly rate that it was, right? That required team intervention to adjust the calculations. But like if it truly does consume Glint on a regular basis to maybe where we don't have a net positive every season or something along those lines, if it is a desirable product in the Glint store, that's a huge win because that is a response from the company that the community drove. The community drove with the desires and communications that, the randomization of our chests was desirable. The rewards that we were receiving before Soulbounds was desirable. And so it was like, okay, let's try to create this chase item that isn't an obnoxiously expensive title, but has that lottery, has everything that you want, right? And so I'm really hoping that after this adjustment that this item is still this desirable because that'd be a huge win.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because what you said just bleeds into something else that we're considering. A lot of the community is like, well, wait a minute, we got the loot chest, but now you took away this other thing, the other random draws. What about those things? And so there's a debate as to whether bringing those back, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Of course, there's economics at play here. You can't just keep throwing different rewards and not have a ripple effect economically. A lot of these percentages and values and systems and algorithms were created on the basis that, well, these are going away, and now that we're introducing this, if we bring those back, then it's going to affect the economic calculations for the loot chest. And they were playing this merry-go-round of constantly trying to update to account for all these variables all the time, and it becomes difficult to manage, right? So, but people are like, no, bring those back, bring those other things back. But let's say we do bring those back. What you just said, what does that do to the loot chest now? Like right now, the value of the loot chest is, I get a random, assortment of stuff, including the cards. I don't know if I'm going to get a legendary card or if I'm going to get a common card, or who knows? It's like it's a fun surprise. Once we start getting granular with the stuff that's in the shop so that you have every min-max opportunity to choose every little thing, then I don't know. I feel like some of the magic goes away, and sometimes it becomes this mathematical exercise of what's going to benefit me to the 0.001 degree, right? So we'll see where we end up. Hopefully the community understands what it finally ends up looking like.
If there's one thing I've learned, there is definitely a part of the community that loves finding that 0.01% benefits.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the interesting pieces that we saw with the jackpot chest coming available, and I think you alluded to this, Rogue, is that this is the first time in probably about a year and a half that for the masses, like for the common or typical player within Splinterlands, that you're able to get assets to the play and earn piece of Splinterlands again, because we've been locked behind Soulbound reward cards for pretty much most of the Chaos era. So what we saw here, I think, was the community saying, hey, as soon as we have play and earn assets or NFT assets that are available in the game, we're going to scoop those up and we're going to sell out of those because that's what we're That's what makes Splinterlands. So I think that was a big statement by the community saying, hey, this is we're now back in Planner, and let's grab some of this stuff. Now, I think it also says some other things about parts of the game loops and game mechanics as well, but we can maybe go into that later. But to Nate's point, I think the beauty of having this system here with the Glint shop is now the ability for the team to introduce these concepts and to stock the shelves with stuff, whatever quote stuff is in the future, is a nice tool to have in the toolbox. So
No,
Yeah,
you're exactly right.
3 changes to the reward shop since it's been implemented. Like, kudos to the team for like, I feel like that is definitely a promise kept when you guys said like we are building this thing that we will be able to adjust on the fly. I think you guys have kind of proved that at this point. Like, that's kudos.
No, and to
Yeah.
both your points, I think that Matt has said this before on town halls, is this whole league revamp and the way that rewards work, just all of it, everything we've done up until this point has been with the intention of streamlining and simplifying so that all the different components are not so intermingled and mixed up and intertwined and complicated so that changing one breaks the system. Instead, it's more modular now so that you're exactly right. Like, if all the rewards were just, every single reward was just baked into the economics of rank play and were insta-given, then it would be a lot harder to kind of manage that, to balance all of that. But now that they're like modularly kind of presented in the reward shop separately and independently, these pieces, now you can like pull a piece out, put it back in. You can kind of fix one piece without affecting the greater whole. So I think that, yeah, both of you kind of like, exactly kind of led me down that road to kind of like, speak to that.
Yeah, I agree that the reward shop remake has been pretty good, and it's good to see everybody. I know I had a little one distracting me for a minute, but yeah, just to follow up on what Tails said, like when I started to see the numbers of cards that got burned to get extra glint, to get extra loot chests in that first, rush of the ability to have a shot at getting an item that you could sell again, it was kind of mind-boggling, and it also reminded me of the fact that this Soulbound set has maybe been around a little bit too long, because the whole flavor of rewards has gotten pretty boring for anybody near the top of the game for quite a while. And this was the first time there was anything enticing to chase with the glint, because when you have enough cards to have like almost 3 max copies of everything, you're not caring about these cards anymore because you don't know what you're going to do with them.
Is that the level that you're at right now? Yeah. Do you
on some
actually
of
have
them,
all
yeah,
of them
on
maxed
some
out?
of my legendaries, it's like 3 of them are maxed out. There's still 1 I don't have any. On rares, two over 2 max copies. Commons, over 2 max copies of most of them. So I mean, it was just, I hadn't bought one thing in the Glint store until you did the rarity draws when I wanted to go chase that one legendary that I just wasn't allowed to have. And I still didn't get it the first time I tried. The second time I tried, I did get 2 of them. But so I hope that's maybe something we look at with this, that if cards are going to be soul bound, maybe less, and release them more often, so there's more of an excitement, easier to get all of them, some kind of adjustment to that, because I don't think it would have got so like just so many people chasing it down if there was still some excitement towards people needing the cards. But when you had so many people sitting on so many extras, whether it was multi-account people or just people who've been playing near the top of the game for a long time, there was, that set them up to really, really go after those rewards they could buy, get.
Yeah. No, I'm still chasing, like, I think I have like a couple of max soulbound reward cards. I still have a long way to go. So you're clearly a better player than I am.
I'm not even that good. I guarantee you the guys above me have even more. So
I just wanted to say, while I understand the lowering of the jackpot percentage, which was right, I think the batch numbers being reduced is, I mean, what we were getting now, it's like you can easily get around 250,000 glint per season, which equals 200 chests, which was pretty much about the amount of chests we were getting before throughout the season, not at the end of the season, but combined end of season and daily. So that to be dropped to 10 before increase, kind of like, I don't know. I understand the chances lowering, but I think we should have more than just 10 at, or just make some price that is you know, so that you can have more on the same price, because as I said, on a regular season, maybe 250,000 glint is achievable, and I think 100 chests for the whole season is kind of normal. And if you start by 10, 10, 10, it will take way more than 250 per season. Just my thought on it.
Baby, so do you mean, just to clarify, you mean reducing the percentage chance of jackpot and decreasing the total batch size
No,
per
no, no, no,
per
no.
fixed cost?
That was what happened. They decreased the batch size, and they decreased the
Yes,
percent chance. I understand the decrease of the percent chance. That was
not the
normal.
batch size.
But the batches I think should have stayed the same, because as I said,
Mm.
I think it makes sense for a player competing in champion to make for about 100 chests per season, which with the increment would be way more than 250 if you had to buy the 100 of them. But that's just my
Well,
opinion.
yeah, I would. That was my first thought. Also, was maybe it was a bit of an overreaction to adjust the batch size and the percentage chance, but as quickly as it happened, it could also unhappen, right? So yeah, and like Rogue called out earlier, kudos to the team for being quick on their toes, and we saw a response almost as quickly as, I mean, let's call it for what it was. It was an exploit. Everybody rushed to the shop. I will say the silver lining there is, man, this community has its ear to the ground. People, it was 49ers, man, gold rush to the Glint shop. Do we have a total tally, Nate, on how much Glint was actually nuked yesterday?
I
It
think
had to be
I think
close to a
Royal
billion.
had updated a number in Mav's chat, I thought earlier, but I don't remember what it was. But
I saw
yeah,
him
I
say
don't have
something like
anything current.
300 million just for the ultimate chests. And that was before the fix went in. Yeah, so that's a whole lot of Glint that just got evaporated. So well done.
No, yeah, that's if it was a mistake, which it was, and it's a happy mistake. It's nothing devastating happened as a result of it. And you're right, if we overcompensated with the corrective measure, then you can be sure that we're keeping an eye on it, and we'll adjust it on the next Tuesday update or whatever.
Yeah.
If we feel like, hey, there's not enough incentive to buy these things now, and it's like, well, that's not what we intend, so we'll fix it if we need to.
Yeah. I appreciate you saying so. I feel like there's, it's a learning curve for all of us. And I think it was very clear that the initial round of reward shop offerings were not necessarily incentivizing enough for folks to spend their glint, and maybe that's a combination of the items, specifically items in the shop, were not enticing enough, or like we were talking about earlier, a lot of folks already have maxed out soulbound decks. But yeah, I think what a lot of folks missed is that, and we've talked about this as recently as Town Hall. I know it was brought up a couple of times with the Nate and Gate show, but the ability to open chest daily and just have that chance at something bigger than I know what I'm getting, pretty much, goes a really long way for folks. And I think that we had a lot of we had Vet V on last week, and he was speaking to the power of marketable events, and holy shit, we were chock full of marketable events in the last 36 hours. So I don't know if any of you guys have scrolled through Twitter, but land plots and titles and beta packs galore. floating
Yeah,
around.
actually, it will be fun. Like if it's 10, a batch of 10, probably overnight, like daily reset. It's like that would
Maybe
be
that's the answer. That's a good
yeah,
thought.
that would
That's
be
a great idea.
yeah.
You know,
Then
I
yeah, then
haven't
more reason
I
to log in every day and kind of
Mm.
pick those up.
I haven't
Yeah, you
paid
don't buy
attention to
them
the
all at
price of
once.
land, but like I did notice it's at $18 today. Was that like has it been around that range or was all the release of land from the free stuff, did that tank the price a little?
It pushed it down a bit.
It
I
was
know
like what,
beta
low
packs took
20s
a big
before?
hit and went down, I think, to I thought I saw them at single digits for a little bit. And then now
Wow.
the
Single
stuff's starting to
digits.
recover and go back up.
What a day to be alive. What a time to be alive.
You should have been here yesterday.
Oh, I was.
Yeah, I got my 100 and I opened them and made my little video and then I didn't realize what else was going on out there. So I got 3 beta packs. So that was pretty cool.
Did you open them?
Yeah, did you open?
No, I still have them. I'm debating. I have 9, but I have to talk to our group and see if I can buy those other 6, and then I could open 9 of them. But I didn't think they'd want to sell them to me at the bottom of the market. So
Now, if you open
Give you
one,
the
you might
average
end
price
up
the
with
last
a
2
Lord
weeks.
of Darkness.
Yeah, I saw somebody posted map chat. They pulled a Valnamore. It's a pretty sweet prize
Ooh,
for.
yeah,
Oh,
nice.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and again, it's pretty sweet. Like what, like $6?
Valnamore? Oh, for the beta packs? Yeah.
Well, I mean, even Voldemort. I mean, I haven't checked, but I heard that those prices were tanking a lot recently. So the better prices in general, better cards.
I mean, Valnamore's still $84 on a single
Yeah.
BCX copy.
Okay.
That's a big fat. How do you do from Daily Chest? I'll take
yeah,
that.
that's only
Yeah,
10,
right.
and there's only 10 on the market.
Mm-hmm.
So Nate, we were talking about we had Joey. Joey has been an awesome contributor on the Battle Royales, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Super. Yeah, he's pretty much been a regular guest. I think we've run 5 or 6, and he's been at most of them. So he's definitely used. He keeps coming back. So obviously we're not doing a good enough job of twisting his arm for Alpha. And you'd be proud. He keeps his lips sealed. He hasn't leaked too much yet. But that doesn't mean we're not going to amp it up and keep trying to get him to squeal. But
Sure.
we were talking about the idea of what do conflicts look like moving forward, and something along the lines of, how do we continue to encourage folks from, as soon as this current conflict system has run its course, how do we discourage folks from just flooding the market with rebellion cards and watching the floor, fall out from underneath the current prices? Have you guys started to think about and bat around the ideas of ongoing conflicts and, maybe incorporating stuff like the entirety of modern into lore and then requiring card staking to correspond with the story and, potentially some aesthetics tied to it? Like, I'd just love to hear, if at all, has there been any conversation for what could the conflict system look like post rebellion, and are we thinking kind of bigger scale than just rebellion?
Yeah. I mean, I can speak to the creative side of things because that's my deal. But we're constantly trying to innovate on like how can we not only immerse the player, make them feel like a battle mage and immerse them in this world we're building, but how can we leverage all of what we've done so far into new game modes or new way of I don't know, tackling the same mechanics, kind of like with the airdrop system got converted into what conflicts is today. I think we spoke to the fact that originally the original conflict design was a little bit more advanced than what it is now. Right now, it's just a very simplified staking mechanism. with some nice fantasy lore and skin added on top. It's just a little trivia point. The narrative team, which is basically Joey and Cal Jericho, had teamed up to create an entire like this robust story mode for the game, right? And we had fantasized about the idea of launching it with the launch of Rebellion, so that as these cards are introduced in the set, you got to meet these people in your journey in this player versus environment game mode. And it would have been very cool, and I think it would give the players a stronger connection with each of the cards above and beyond just the mechanics or the ROI. It would be like, hey, that's my favorite card because I helped that guy on this mission in story mode or whatever, or whatever. What ended up happening is we took a lot of the storytelling from that story mode that could have been, and we actually applied it to the conflict. So these locations on the map, as we go from one conflict to the next, and the little video clips that play and kind of speak to this background story to kind of give flavor to the whole conflict's gameplay. All of that was kind of taken from the story mode that had been developed. But anyways, that's just a little trivia off the side. Ultimately, what I want to talk about is the fact that conflicts was originally more complex, meaning it had some what Cryptomancer, when he saw my specs for it, he was like, oh, this is cool. This is kind of like reminds me of playing D&D and stuff, because there was some random dice rolls happening in the background to determine whether or not these cards on your battle wagons were killed in combat, or whether or not how much damage they were doing, or if you had a tank slotted in the wagon, how much they're taunting to take the damage, and how if it's tagged as a DPS or a support unit or a healer unit, then like there was more mechanics at play with the original version of Conflicts, right? In order to get it released on time with the launch of Rebellion, so that people could take advantage of this new airdrop mechanism, Matt was like, Nate, settle down, buddy. We're gonna trim this down so that we can make it, at least applicable for what it needs to be used for right now. But he left the door open a crack so that we'll see how it goes. And in my head, I'm thinking, well, not only did the original specs have, a more dynamic gameplay, it wasn't just staking. It was like maybe today or this week, there's different weather conditions, or there's different parameters, kind of like how you see with combat rules with regular rank play, right? So there will be almost like combat rules or different parameters that are happening, which would cause you to want to go swap out the things in your deck, because let's say it's raining and all your fire element cards are like, we don't like the rain. Look, leave us alone. And they're not really fighting as effectively against the enemy. And so maybe you'd be like, oh no, I gotta swap those people out for the water element, cards or that I have, or what have you. So every day there'd be a reason to engage with the system, right? Right now, you just kind of like click a button once or twice a month to just claim your airdrop cards, and the system automatically rolls it into the next conflict, all your cards, right? So I don't know. I'm pretty excited about the possibilities, particularly considering that Cryptomancer had already started kind of coding the original base before he was kind of put it on pause and said, okay, let's do it this way instead. But I got the impression it was all feasible. It was all doable. And when you really think about a system like that and you think about its applications, I mean, the first application, of course, as you already brought up, is like, what happens when the current set of conflicts are over? What are all these rebellion cards going to go? Well, yeah, I agree. The obvious solution of that is more conflicts. And I would love for those newer conflicts to be more engaging than they are right now. And I would love for different conflicts to give greater meaning to the older cards, because that's what land is supposed to be, give more and more value to the older cards. The wild format gives a certain form of utility. But if we can build upon that so that card values have a hard time going down ever, because there's all this utility, and it's like, no, I don't want to ever sell this card. I want to keep it because I could use it here and here and here, and over here it's fun, and over here it's an investment, and there's something suitable for all play styles, right? So when you think about boss fights or guild raids or all kinds of ways we could apply this, I can imagine a game system where you log into the game and, oh no, there's a dragon attacking this village over here. Do you want to participate? And you say, yeah, I'll take my cards and wagons. And when the lobby fills up with enough participants, then you're off to slay the dragon. And maybe it's just like a quick one-time event, or maybe there's a guild raid where they're like, hey, there's a location on the Praetorian map where they go to it and they use the conflict mechanics to determine the outcome. And maybe it's like the battle takes weeks or hours or days, or who knows, that's all yet to be determined, obviously. But yeah, absolutely. What you just said could just have me talking for hours just about that. So I'll stop there.
I want to push back on the fundamental question here with this bold assumption that Rebellion's going to drop price after this after the conquests are over, or like, come on, are you serious? Like, seriously, like I have a very hard time believing that, because one, we are going to rotate out of Chaos Legion eventually. And when that time comes, honestly, Splinterlands is going to be a very different looking place. When people cannot play in Modern because their entire deck is reward soulbound cards and Chaos Legion, because at this moment in time they're cheap. Like, then you've got the new set, which Splinterlands has already proven that they can produce a set and hold a floor as long as it's not printed through the roof. Rebellion, so that's great. So then now your only other cost-effective answer is going to be Rebellion then. And then so like when I listened to your guys' show, and like last week, Vet, like the fact that VetV doesn't have all of his Rebellion cards, I'm like, what? There's so many people that don't have all their Rebellion cards.
No,
so,
I'm still working on mine. Yeah.
It's not a super saturated market at this point that, like, when conquests are over, like, because I can tell you personally, my conquest is my playing deck, and my playing deck's not going to go away when chaos rotates. So I don't think extra utility needs to be added to Rebellion when Chaos Legion releases. I actually think you might see a price pump once everybody realizes, like, you can't play Modern anymore without new cards.
Not to mention the amount of packs being burned every day.
Oh, oh my goodness. If we get out of Rebellion with like under 2 million, like if it's Rift Watcher numbers by the time Rebellion's done, there's some people that are going to be in trouble. Like, when we're all getting SPS rewards of like 50, 60 SPS in silver because nobody's got like, just take a look at the Rebellion only tournaments. Like, they literally cannot fill. Like, they're paying out top 60 or whatever because nobody's got the decks to like do it. So like when we get to that point, oh man, it's gonna be, come on, Chaos. Like, I was like, what, 6 months ago, I was like, come on, Untamed, let's rotate out. And now I'm like, come on, Chaos Legion, let's be done.
No,
slow your roll just a little bit, man. Yeah, I mean, I think I hope you're right, Rogan. But that's not to say I wouldn't like to see additional utility come in with, like this PvE stuff, or additional conflicts, or mage wagon extensions. Or how cool would it be if Nate and co, you guys put out, here's the plot, you can choose one of two sides of this story, and then depending on which side of this story sees a higher number of staked monsters, that's going to shape the direction that the story moves moving forward. So it's like choose your own adventure on steroids, from the perspective of the community making collective decisions in terms of how these conflicts turn out. That would be absolutely rad. For sure. I just love the idea of additional utility coming in, additional game modes, additional ways to play with, play with your bags, Rouge. But something else to your point, Rogue, is the idea that abilities are kind of locked to sets. So I think it's no secret that the master ability or like the keynote ability of Rebellion is weapons training. It goes so well with a lot of the Soulbound stuff. The meta is, Grimbardoon Rage, Grimbardoon yada yada. Even though we have Vanka and some of
Not
these
anymore.
counters, I don't know, man. Weapons training is still king. I think it's really tough to beat the
Yeah, but Grimbardoon
the
is
Yeah,
bang for
yeah.
the
You
buck.
just put Grimbardoon in the last spot, with magic
you
attack.
just mix it
and
up.
When you think
he
about
sits
weapons
back there
training,
being a tank.
there's only 3 rebellion cards with weapons training. All the weapons training's coming out of Soulbound
Yeah,
Chaos
that comes
Legion
out of
cards.
Soulbound.
yeah.
So like when the
Well,
majority
but
of
the
weapons training
non-attackers, the
will go out the
non-attackers are
door with
Sure, okay.
chaos. We'll have
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd
at this
assume
point.
they'll have to come back in the next set or in the next set of Soulbound. Otherwise, it would really hurt the Rebellion cards, and I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think that
You
I
have a
don't
lot of-
know, but
I don't know. There was a world where like the non-attack cards were always good before weapons training. Now they're broken, right? But like once you break something, you can't just not. You
Yeah,
can go
but
back
there's
to not
5
broken.
the thing is now
there's
the
5 weapons trainers, man. From
Is
now
there?
the non-attack cards
Sorry,
are
Yeah.
actually
fact check me.
having attacking abilities, so they don't make like a lot of non-attack cards don't make sense at highest level without the weapon training. Like you have a
Tell that to Chaos Agent.
what
Or
about?
talk to failed summoner, man.
Yeah, talk to
those are
Summoner.
those are very unique ones. There's ones that were clearly designed to have a weapons trainer in the Rebellion set.
Are you
I mean,
saying that
dropping
like
poison
the card
or
with
having
blast wouldn't
blast,
make sense if
yeah.
it can't attack?
Yeah.
Yeah. A card with blast, a card with stun, a card with true strike. What the heck's the point of
Poison.
any of those?
Poison.
Poison.
It's
if
going to
you
be a
can't give
whole
it an
generation
attack.
that's going to look at that and be like, "What do I do with this? This doesn't make sense." Like, yeah, back in the day, we used to weapons train. What's weapons training, Dad? It was a crazy time, son.
Just wait till they add like a weapons training rule set after that. Give all cards
Everybody
weapon
got it.
training. Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Would that ever be a consideration for a legendary summoner? Like one weapons training tactic ability? Is that too broken? Like
I
if,
mean,
if I
that's,
could choose Rumancer Flore as
Uh-oh.
my weapons trainer
Did you see
Or
that man's
give-
face?
Or Ager.
Did you
No,
see
I mean,
his face?
or
That's
How
not-
can you
Aegor,
see a
yeah.
poker?
That's a call me Tim question. So he is the guy in charge of stats and abilities. So yeah, sometimes he comes up with some crazy stuff. And
Well,
you
let's
know,
let's talk to Nate as a player. Is that too broken, Nate?
would it be broken to make it a tactic?
So you get to pick whoever you want to have a tactic.
Nate said he's not a good player, so I don't know if he would know what broken is.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not the
Oh, he's a fan of good gameplay.
I mean, it won't be broken if it's not a dragon legendary. I mean, or earth legend. I mean, as long as it's not earth or dragon, probably it won't be broken
Why you say Earth?
because of
I
Quora-
understand
tag,
dragons,
yeah.
but why is
Flora.
it broken on Earth?
because of Quora and Flore, Turmancer, Flore, both having
Okay.
double attacks.
Water has a double attack. Who doesn't have double attack?
I would just
Fire.
give Drybone,
Well, but- yeah, but
Drybone
they're
Raider
like low-
every
they're-
time.
At lower
Yeah, that's
numbers,
true.
like
Neutral.
1-2 damage, whereas Quora and Flora and Runma and Ager, they all have like 3+ on both attacks.
Yeah. I mean, considering dual attacks, you're right. That does sound pretty freaking OP. So
But as long as it's not within those, like it's not dragon and it's not earth, it should be okay.
Or it's
um,
weapons training with you choose one of the attacks that is trained.
Yeah, but we literally have a neutral card that has two attacks and double strikes. So
No,
It
no,
doesn't
that's
matter
what I
the
mean. So
color.
you would
Dry
choose
bone.
if you pick the Raider, for example,
mhm.
maybe you choose either ranged or melee is the trainable attack.
I say do both.
I don't know.
Break it.
That's a second
Break
choice,
it.
though. Yeah, it'd be
Break
tough.
it.
Break
And
it
by
back
the
to
way,
you.
weapon trainer doesn't train double attacking, so I mean it's still a 2/2 card.
But it's the two types of attack that is more broken because then you train both of them.
Yes.
Rune Master Flora would be ridiculous because it's archery and magic. So all of a sudden you have 3 monsters in the back row that shoot archery and magic.
3 each, yeah. 3 or 4
Yeah, 3 each.
Oof.
And go old school and use the one magic summoner, so they're all shooting four.
Or
Fours on that
imagine
one.
if it's dragon and then you choose the earth splinter, so you have now both Aegir and floor.
Okay, yeah, so maybe we can't have that. I think
Yeah.
you've explained why you can't have that now, but with that.
We've talked ourselves
We
out
made
of
our
it.
own bed.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it still sounds good for a rule set though. Just to have it every once in a while.
Just go
Sounds
crazy.
fun.
And not all the time.
That would
but,
be wild. That would just definitely be speed meta, right? You have to get those attacks off first.
yeah.
If everyone was weapon trading everyone else.
Just put
Yeah.
a non-attack in between all your cards, and yeah, that'd be fun.
Hey Nate, is there any
Yeah, then.
news when we're getting the stats for the new summoner? Talking about summoners.
Yeah,
Tonight.
I see
Do it
that
right
you
now.
have his artwork right behind you.
Yes, I
The
do.
cryptic darkened mage artwork. So so yeah, we are in the midst of testing, and this next batch of summoners, the way that Call Me Tim designed them, is obviously the most ambitious, most complex summoners that have ever been well, I wouldn't even say some any out of all the cards in the game, these represent the most complexity and have to be handled just right. And so yeah, they're taking every minute of every day. We're squeezing out as much contemplation and testing that we can give ourselves to make sure that these summoners don't break anything and that they work as intended. So yeah, we're still in the midst of testing that stuff. So there's no final stats yet, but yeah, as soon as there are, we'll do the typical blog post you guys are accustomed to seeing. And
And do we
give
get to
the
test
rundown.
it in math server as well at some point?
That's a very good question. I am a big champion for certain things going to Mavs more consistently so that we can get more eyes on it and get people trying to break it and trying to figure out, like, just get more testing in there
Yeah.
before it goes live. So that is not a bad suggestion. It's just whether or not we can finalize what we think we're going to do in time to push it up to Mavs and get like a little bit of testing first before it's finally going to go live. Or I guess
Well, it's always
actually,
subject to change when it's on
True.
math server anyway. So
when you think about the fact that when this conflict ends in about a week, then we have to show the stats in the game on the card details page. But a whole month's going to go by to where, well, there's some testing room to test, and then we can go back and change the stats that are displayed on that card detail screen, because no one's playing with that card yet. They're just seeing it. So yeah, I guess that is a possibility.
okay.
So theoretically, you could give us
So given that
hypothetical
all
stats right now.
things, I have you just read my mind, man. So seeing that everything is very subject to change and delivered with a big fat asterisk.
To further complicate, I will say this: we're contemplating the idea of possibly. Oh shoot! What do I say? Should I even
say
something
it?
like-
Just say it.
We're contemplating the idea of possibly giving the next summoner a unique ability. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh,
like a new ability? Is that what you
yeah.
mean?
Wow.
The next summoner, as in
The
Cryptic?
one that's
Cryptic?
displayed that Bebe is asking about.
Interesting.
Well,
Yeah.
no, the last two conquest cards we've had have had unique abilities, right? Like we're
No,
spitting these out.
I was telling Call Me Tim, I was like, dude, what are you doing? Why you keep making more abilities? And really, I had a bias, a selfish, I was like, crap, we got to make new graphics. We got to, accommodate, change some of you notice the tactics screen is we're kind of tweaking it and making it different to accommodate these new summoners. We have to like redesign what tactics looks like in order to make these summoners even work, right? So at every turn, I'm like, oh, okay, we're done. I'm gonna move on to other things. But no, hey, we need it. We're gonna make a new ability. What? You need new graphics now. What? And so we're testing new things. We're doing this and that. And I'm like, dude, you keep adding new abilities. Is that really necessary? Like how many abilities are we gonna keep adding? But he did make the point that apparently we introduced a lot of new abilities with Chaos Legion, more abilities than I realized, apparently. So he's like, well, we haven't reached that number of abilities yet. So, you know, it's not as bad as you might think. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it is making the airdrop cards you know, exciting events, because you're not only getting new cards, you're actually getting new abilities half the time, and you're like, whoa, this is changing the meta. You know, this is making I have to come up with new strategies and new tactics and all the rest.
But new ability, or new ability like back row cleanse type, something that it's already in the game, but it's now applied in a different situation.
Nice reach, baby.
You mean like Venka is kind of like has an ability like reach, but on steroids? Is that what you
Like
mean?
reach and the but monsters attack from each position. No, I mean that was Vile. But yeah, I mean it's like Vile, for example, can attack from anywhere. So it's like there is already the rule set where melee monsters attack from everywhere, but now it's on a card. Like it doesn't matter what the rule set is. It's not a opportunity. It's not a reach, but it's still like it's not a totally new ability. Like as just the example I gave you, like a new ability is back row cleanse. We have cleanse, but we don't have cleanse for the back row. But all of a sudden now there is a new ability that allows the monster with lowest health that is poisoned to be cleansed, or whatever it is. Like it's still a new ability, but it's not really a new ability, just new use of the ability.
Well, out of the abilities that have been introduced with Rebellion, how many of those abilities do you feel like legitimately changed the meta in a distinctive way? And how many were just, I don't know, like similar, have overlap or copycatted or mimicked in some way some already existing ability?
Well, I think the weapon thing, like the shield attack type was, I felt kind of unique, but the rest was pretty much like.
Oh, ambush changed the game. I
Yeah,
would say
ambush did.
number
Yeah,
one.
actually, yeah. So two
Ambush
two
did,
What else we
weapons
got?
training did.
Corrosive Ward, and then
Oh, that was before
Lookout.
what-
I feel like Lookout, we
think
haven't
Lookout
seen its
is-
full impact.
I try to use it fairly strategically a lot.
Yeah.
It's really helpful, especially if you're playing Lily. It's like, yeah. Or an opportunity rule sets, or just all kinds of there's different things where, those opportunity and sneak, those rule sets where they apply, you know, those abilities to all your monsters. Like you've got to be, I feel like I got to be playing like lookouts in different positions to protect people differently. And
maybe it's
works a lot.
underrated. It's maybe like when Llama came out, like nobody was playing it, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh wow, it's one of the best summoners actually for that time.
Trying to think, what
So
else did we
people-
introduce? We introduced Kai, which reduces your melee attack. I
Yeah, I
believe.
haven't really seen that
So-
one play out.
The corrosion thing is kind of like thorns, but for armor. So
Corrosive Ward. Corrosive
yeah.
Ward is actually something that I've really appreciated.
No, but it's still like
It's like
you could,
It's like
cripple or
thorns for
something.
shields, or
Oh,
cripple for
the
shields.
the shield blast shield,
Strike,
whatever it's called,
shield strike.
Mantras. Yeah, Mantras ability is
yeah.
also
Maybe I said that
That's what I was
first.
talking.
fantastic.
That's what I said
Oh,
first. Yeah.
got you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's been a lot of good abilities. I would just my 2 cents in for Call Me Tin is to not like I know anything about this at all. I'm speaking from complete ignorance.
Are
But
you not?
Chaos Legion was absolutely huge. So if he's trying to compare ability numbers between like Rebellion and Chaos Legion, I would caution towards half, because realistically what Splinterlands did from my perspective is release 2 sets and called it all Chaos Legion. You know what I mean? Two full 2.5 reward sets, all encompass like 5, 6 promo cards, a core set and a mini set. And then if everything that we're talking about with Rebellion, it's literally just going to be main set and one Rebellion set with like promos sprinkled throughout the year. It's going to be massively small. So I would hope, like in my opinion, I wouldn't want as many new abilities that came out in Chaos Legion to show up in Rebellion, because Chaos Legion was 2 sets. Like that second reward set that came out with like all the Damphiers and everything that started to really get into the reflection shields and all that stuff. That was like a set. That was a set, you know.
Yeah.
Then specifically these soulbounds, when the soulbounds came out, we introduced weapons training and all that. That's a set, you know. So I wouldn't want to get caught up on the naming, and that'll be something that I have to like explain to every new person that comes into the game going forward when they look back and they're like, "Wow, Chaos Legion." I was like, "Yeah, that was a fun time, buddy." But now this is what we do. This is what a set is. This is the, it's this and this and it's this small and it's consistent, you know.
Yeah, you're right. Chaos was pretty massive in scope when you think about it as the whole set, including all, like what you said, all its expansions.
It's also important to remember we pretty much had it confirmed that there's no mini set for Rebellion, right? I think you just alluded to that, Rogue, but yeah. So
Which I
if
think
we
is
get
something I think it's something that we all wanted to happen if the reward sets are going to continue to be as large as the previous ones were. Because realistically, that's a lot of cards in one year. Is essentially 3 sets if they keep making the reward sets as big as this last one was. You know.
yeah,
Maybe it was a good
well,
idea of releasing a reward set in like in stages, like a few cards, a 1 month, and second month introducing the second mm, batch or whatever it is, so people don't get them all at once, and there is some sense of progression where you actually get the stuff that you need if you play hard enough. I mean, or as many times as needed. So I don't
well, it
know.
also keeps consistent demand on the Glint shop, right? If
And
we're
and
refreshing
keeps things fresh and exciting. Like when you
and in
get
the meta, yeah.
all the cards from the start, everybody's super hyped, super excited, and then 3 months down the road, like everybody like, oh, I know all the cards. I mean, it's yeah, I keep on getting them, but it's, I mean, nothing like for next year and a half. I won't see anything new and exciting in cards wise. So in the rewards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unless they maybe want to change. Yeah, but you don't want too many soulbound cards, so you don't
No,
want them
but
changing it too often. But at the same time, like I said, this set was a long time. Because
but
Yeah,
I,
but if
I
you
did
take this
double check
current
it.
set and divide it by 4 is
yeah,
essentially the concept. You
release it
know,
every 3 months.
Yeah.
New set,
yeah.
It's like
new
12
movie.
cards a piece.
I
Yeah.
think that would be my biggest prayer. My biggest prayer is that once the team has decided how they're going to unlock soulbound reward cards, my biggest hope is that is going to be the same foundation that was like the Glint shop. And then like reward card sets, I feel like the reason we're holding on so long to this reward card set is because we haven't figured out the unlock aspect. That's my personal perspective. I think we've reached a print limit that is now very comparable to previous reward sets. Like prices would be super depressed because they're very much overprinted. But if we establish what it costs to unlock the cards, then I hope that we can really shrink down. So like if they say, this next set is going to be as big as this last reward card set, which was almost like a core set, or at least a mini. I think it's like 60 or 70 some cards. It's a lot of cards. And if they chopped it up into 4, or something along those lines, and it was 3 month or 1/4 releases, and we had stuff like, like when O'Shaughnessy, Harklaw, and Deshin were like the 3 legendaries. You could do that 4 times in a year and have a unique reward set that many times. Then the other thing that you get is you don't have to really change a lot of your metrics in the reward shop, but some of the bigger players will be able to get to those max cards faster, and then you'll have constant meta evolutions through the course of the year. Like every 3 months, you'll start to unlock these newer cards, get them leveled up and play with them. Then on the point of that rotation, you go into unlock, you stop print, you release your next set for 3 months. And then like the market's happy, it's getting quick to where it's like getting rewards for its time, and it's constantly eating up vouchers and DEC to unlock. It's a mechanism. I fear that if we do what we did again and the next reward set goes big and for an entire year, that's just going to be a really long time to wait. I'm hoping the unlock mechanism can be set and we can just do this every 3 months. Constant sync, constant sync.
I approve. Not the
Well, real quickly, we were talking about it plenty in last week's episode with Vet. The proposal that we've kind of been working on in the background of just full disclosure, sent it off to Yaba to see if he's got any feedback, and hopefully we can get that on the airwaves. It's regarding exactly what you're speaking to, Rogue and Bebe. Smaller sets. I think we're, I don't know how much of this we can actually dictate. It's obviously outside the purview of what the DAO can dictate, but yeah, maybe a suggestive approach. We'll see what Yaba comes back with. But before we took this deep dive down the rabbit hole, Nate, I think you were about to say something a little bit more about this upcoming
new
ability. It looks like the words were on the tip of your tongue and we cut you off.
Where is unique, or it's like makeover of an old one?
I think it might be in the middle, but I would think that it kind of leans more towards unique. I think
okay.
there are certain elements to what's being proposed that are definitely unique in nature. So we'll see.
So it's not back row cleanse, huh?
Back row cleanse.
No.
Has there been any talk around like element specific abilities? So like Death, for example, getting like a
The
zombie. It's always gotten that ability, bro. Death has had the shaft since day one. and now we're about to have 2 Death summoners for Rebellion. I'm pretty stoked
Death,
about that.
For those of us who've been here a long time, Death was the most powerful team in the game for about a month, maybe a month and a half. When Mimosa first came out, it was the meta card, and then it got quickly forgotten about.
Well, I wonder if Lorcus is going to change that. Lorcus is that looks like a lot of fun with a lot of the death monsters.
That's because we get some fire sprinkled in, so you're like, okay, I mean, we give them some fire, so let's hype it up a little bit. If it was just that, nah. The shaft.
Yeah. So back to my original question there, Nate. Has there been any discussion around element specific abilities, and is that a realistic path that you guys would like to pursue?
I mean, that's definitely been a topic of debate internally as to like, hey, have we made all the elements feel too similar? We have they lost their distinctive flavor, if you will? And I think that, we'll see. I think Call Me Tim, if I understand his intentions, are to possibly go the route that you speak of, except maybe not abilities unique to one element, but maybe pairs of element. Maybe that coincide with, how the dual element summoners. So, water death and fire death, they have certain dual pairings have certain synergy or relationships, and maybe they will also share some unique abilities that maybe some of the other elements don't have access to, and that would reinvigorate that sense of, I don't know, personality when you play death or water or whatever, then you give access to certain abilities that you wouldn't otherwise have if you played some other element. So I think that would be cool. I don't know what the balancing challenge there is, but for sure, I'm a big fan of the idea.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at other games too, it's like, if you have certain play styles, certain decks or spinners will, to your, like you said, to your personality, if you like to play more defensive and more aggressive. And I feel like Splinterlands did kind of have that at first. It seemed like, life was, you had revives and repairs, and then some, and Earth had a lot of heals. And so it did seem like it kind of lost that with like trying to find balance did kind of muddy the waters, where it's just like, well, you don't really feel like you have a personal attachment to one splinter over the other, because all the abilities you can kind of get them in some way with all the different splinters.
No, for
Except
sure.
if you're looking for a martyr on Team Death.
Right. Yeah. For some reason, because it would make the most sense for Death to have martyr, so Death shouldn't
For
have
some reason, because it's dead, it's the shaft ability.
it.
Yep.
Don't worry, Nate. I heard our episode with Call Me Timbo. We gave him a lot of crap for all of this stuff as well. So, and he even said, because he told us that Death was supposed to get a martyr card in Rebellion, but then it got pulled at the last minute. So I don't know if maybe
Surprise.
that's going to be coming up on a summoner or something, but we'll see.
Yeah,
Martyr for 2 monsters.
Yeah.
There's neutrals, right? So
yeah,
The Mark's Rat. Yeah.
but then, yeah, like that's the thing though. Is like almost every other splinter you can double stack them if you want.
Not
in certain rule
every
sets.
other.
Yeah.
It's okay. We're venting.
It's common. Yeah. It's funny that everybody likes Death so much, even though it's kind of been, getting screwed for
Well,
a while.
everybody loves the underdog, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like if somebody's constantly being unfairly treated, everybody's rooting for the, for the bullet splinter.
I got beat up by a Rekla deck today, so that was an interesting one. In a
Courtesy of
match.
Mondroid, I got the battle link sent over to me with, look what I did with your boy Rekla, and I happen to see your name on the other side, Steve. So
he's got to show that one to you when we played just the match before and I beat him, but he shares the one where he beat me.
Well, Nate, I'm curious around your, so take off your Splinterlands team hat for a moment, and I'd love to kind of hear your, yeah, there you go. How are you enjoying ranked at the moment, and where are you kind of finding yourself rating wise? And obviously I know you're a super busy dude, but are you able to carve out enough time to kind of get a fair litmus test on what's happening in rate?
Yes and no. So I make a point of playing consistently. Since I'm neck deep in UX and I'm responsible for overseeing the design of that UX, then it would be a huge failure on my part if I didn't actually stay connected in playing the game that I'm designing for, so that I could understand how the players feel and what they're seeing and all the rest. Now, having said that, it's only so much time in the day. And for, I since I've been around for the last 6 years, I have all these old cards, and yes, they would probably be better served on land, but I just have a hard time giving them up. I like to play with them, so I end up in wild format. Now, for a while there, down in wild format, I found myself, it was I used to be a champion 1 player, and I found myself struggling to get out of diamond for quite a while. And more recently, I finally made it to champion 3. Then over a few seasons, I finally made it to champion 2. And right now I'm knocking on the door for champion 1. I haven't quite achieved getting there, but I think next season I'm going to make it in the door. So having said that, all my attention's been on wild. Not to say that I haven't tried to play modern, but I felt so guilty after the recent league redesign. I'd go in there and just start annihilating bronze leaguers. And what Royal Eagle suggested to me, of course, was like, dude, why don't you try to alleviate the frustration of fighting such a max deck? Why don't you start giving some freebie cards to those folks? And I did. I went and bought a bunch of cards on the market, and every time I like squish, just put the stomp of annihilation on some bronze leaguer, I'd be like, hey, thanks for the game. Sorry. And then I just send them a card, send them a common card, whatever. Just send them something so that they could kind of help build their collection up a little bit and feel like,
hardy
well,
stonefish.
losing wasn't so bad. You know, I got something out of it. But I will say that as long as there's 2 formats and one player is and any given player is tempted to play the other format, we're at risk of that weird UX experience where there's this discrepancy between opponents in what their decks are capable of doing and trying to get to where you need to go. We wanted to make sure we gave enough of enough time to let the dust settle to see how things shake out naturally and organically where people ended up. We've had time to kind of evaluate some of those analytics and those numbers, look at how things are. I am trying to propose different solutions to some of this stuff because I do think that it deserves attention. Like, we can't just leave it like it is. It's a good starting point. I'm pretty happy with how things are progressing. I know there's a lot of people who aren't happy, but that's also because for whatever reason they think that we started the redesign and that like any day now we're just gonna like say, okay, done. Like I don't think it's anywhere close to done. So I mean, if they're worried that we're gonna call it done now, then they could rest easy because that's not, I'm looking at the UX of it all and I'm like, yeah, we're not done. Like, we got some work to do here. One idea I'm floating, you guys can tell me what you think. And keep in mind that, again, I'm saying this with understanding that I flipped my hat. Bjangle said, as long as I flip my hat around, then, I can't be taken too seriously for what I say. But I am floating the idea around about, like, I'm saying, hey guys, what if we introduce a hardcore mode? And what I mean by that is you click battle and you're able to toggle on and off this hardcore mode. And if you have it toggled on, then you're matched with someone who is 2 leagues higher than you. So if you're in Silver League with a max level deck, rather than trying to find an opponent who's like level 2 cards or something, you say, no, you're going to be matched up, not in gold, but 2 leagues higher. So you'll be in diamond. You'll get an opponent in diamond. And then hopefully you guys have similar decks, and then bam. And if you win, you get way more rating bump than you would have if you were just, trying to fight someone lower down, you're punching downwards. I think this solves a lot of problems because, number one, it removes the frustration of a lower level player being confronted with this high level player. Number two, it gets the higher level player quicker to where it is that they're supposed to be, right? So if I'm used to playing wild and I want to switch to modern, or vice versa, then I'm going to get to where I need to go a lot quicker with less frustration on my part, because I'm getting to where I want to go quicker and I'm not feeling like grinding over and over again, just nonsense battles that are meaningless and I don't pay much attention to. And it's also less frustrating for the lower level opponent to have to face me. So they don't have to face me at all now. Now they'll be matched off with someone who's of appropriate level. So that's one of many things that I'm looking at to kind of like, try to figure out some of this UX stuff. So I don't know if that's what you were.
Yeah, but that will be disabled once you reach the champion, I guess. So
well, it would be disabled sooner because once you hit
gold, right?
Gold, then no, gold would be matched with champion. So once you hit diamond, then the toggle's not, it's hidden. It's not even an option anymore because it's like there's
just
you're just in hardcore mode when you get to diamond.
Yeah. I like anything that maybe gives you a chance to get ratings up a little bit quicker.
Well, it's still
even going
for you, man.
even going by 40s, because I played a deck from novice to champion and wild, and it was kind of a funny experience, but like I was just stomping down. At one point I had like 87 wins in a row and I was still only in gold. And I'm like, this is silly. I, I shouldn't be picking on these guys anymore, but I
Is
can't
that
help
the word
it.
you used? Silly?
Yeah, it felt silly to win 87 games in a row. The
Yeah.
game is not supposed to be like that for me, right? I mean, even if I was that good, RNG is going to get you once. So, but it wasn't even a game because they all had much lower cards, and I was like, there should be a quicker way for the vastly over leveled to get out of those lower leagues, because
I
it was
guess,
it was
Steve,
taking
the
too long.
question is though, I mean, should that even really be an issue? That's kind of like a one-time thing. I mean, once you climb out of wherever you were at, I mean, that shouldn't happen again, right? So I guess my concern, so Nate, I think it's definitely a good idea. My concern is when there's so many things to develop, and the team has mentioned that they have little, reduced development horsepower, reduced creative horsepower, and stuff like that. For us to still have things like nodes and other promises for land and stuff unfulfilled, for us to look at things that are nice to haves but probably don't impact the majority of the users, it would seem not to make sense in the current environment, I guess would be my
Yeah, I
my
guess it
comment.
boils down on to scope, right? Like, how much work would it take to add a hardcore toggle? And how many problems does that solve if it's a low lift task? On the other hand, you're right. If it is large in scope and it has minimal value, then I mean, of course, you're exactly right. Luckily, people working on node validators aren't stopping for any of this stuff. They're like in their own corner, doing their own thing in parallel with whatever we're talking about here. Same thing with like, let's say a dev working on land is not really involved. They're not pausing to stop what they're doing so that we can fiddle with rank play. So the good news is, like, yes, we're a smaller team than we were before, but at the same time though, we are large enough to at least have some dedicated personnel who are working in parallel and they're not stopping for any silly nonsense stuff. Well, hopefully we won't stop for any silly nonsense stuff. Hopefully everything we do has some sort of value. So it's just, when we prioritize stuff and decide, hey, is this a good idea or a bad idea? Then you're right. You're completely 100%. Like, what's the value that it brings, and is it?
Yeah, and I
worth
think
it?
no, and thanks for that. I think one of the things that's interesting, that the shift in change from going from Aggie as CEO to Matt to CEO, we had a shift in, at the same time, a communication of roadmap. So right now we know that Matt has said that what's on the table for this year is the new player experience, right? We know that's the case. But other than that, maybe twice a month we might get stuff rolled out and we'll see it in patch notes or whatever. But there's really not a roadmap or a vision for the community to track and keep up pace with. So that visibility is a little nebulous these days. So I think it's hard for a lot of the community to understand where we're going. We can only see what's right in front of us. And like driving a car where you're looking like 5 feet in front of you is probably not the safest thing to do, right? So I think people get a little I wouldn't say salty, but I would say they get a little bit of anxiety maybe because we don't understand kind of where we're going to be at the end of the year. Do you know, is that something that the team may look to provide more clarity to in the future, or is it just going to be you'll see what's in the patch notes coming up in 2 weeks and we'll roll that out then?
Yeah. Oh, Virus, it looks like you need to go. So it was nice meeting you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks, Virus.
For Tails, I'll say that that yes, the answer is yes. So the fact that it has taken this long has been nothing more than, I mean, you can put the blame at my feet pretty much. I was like, hey man, what do you think if we just show like it doesn't even have to have dates on it. It could just basically be like 3 columns. The first column is like what's about to be released. The second column is what we're working on right now. And the third column is like in the future. Like it's on our radar. It's not like, it hasn't fallen between the cracks. We're aware of it. We're trying to get to it. And, even something as simple as that could be enough to at least provide the necessary transparency with the community so that they're like, oh, they clearly haven't forgotten this other thing that I want to see happen, and I feel like it's being ignored. It's like sometimes that reassurance, you're right, is needed, and it's been lacking, and we're trying to rectify it as quickly as I can get in a Photoshop or whatever and drum up something and then add some type to it, and then we'll probably share it on a town hall. It was actually, I had intended to share something like that in previous town halls, but it's just one thing happened and then another, and then it just hasn't gotten. I haven't got to it yet, but I'll try to make sure it gets done in time for the next town hall.
No, that's definitely appreciated, Nate. And I think it's the reason I bring it up is because I think it's good for whether you're a company, whether you're an individual, whatever the case may be, or a project. You need to have goals to understand: are you progressing forward? Are you making progress? Are you achieving what you're setting out to do? And as a community right now, we don't have really quote goals, right? There's not anything that we're marching towards and can measure against necessarily. So I think, like you said, if we just have kind of that vision of what's coming, no timelines, nothing promised, nothing like that, but just kind of like, hey, here's near term, here's future, and here's what we're thinking about, and kind of developing and innovating on, that helps the community understand, hey, this is where we're going, and here's where we're moving. Because right now it's a little nebulous. It's just my feeling. I don't know if others feel that way as well, but from a project perspective, as we see other Web3 projects out there, where they're going, what they're doing, as a content creator, as someone that's out there talking about Splinterlands, it's kind of hard to message that appropriately with others that aren't following Splinterlands, to say, hey, this is where we're going, this is what we're going towards, this is what's coming. We can't really take that message forward because we don't really know what that message is.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's understandable. And even and that's different than just saying, hey guys, we're this is what we're working on, and we say it in a town hall. It's nice to have that visual, whether it's a chart or whether it's something that kind of like inscribes it in virtual digital stone and says, look, we're serious. This is what we're doing. And yeah, I agree. I think it is needed, and it's something we'll try to fill that void.
You're doing good.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. I'll definitely echo the fact that I miss the weekly town halls. Granted, a lot of them were a little fluffy and not necessarily chock full of substance. But just that communication, I feel like things tend to spiral more when the communication isn't there. So having that over communication, and like, I don't know, maybe it's just like psychology 101, having the team be there, be like, hey, we're working on stuff, we're making stuff happen. There's a sense of reassurance, right, that is not there when we don't have the communication. So it's definitely been an adjustment to move into a place where we've got bi-monthly town halls, and I think it was last town hall.
When
We
skip
skipped the
one,
town hall.
it becomes a monthly thing, once a month.
Yeah.
Especially when you got
the-
a 3-hour a week podcast, you got to fill. You need something to talk about, right?
yeah. Good call, man. And that was four weekly podcasts that we had to fill with only one town hall.
Yeah, we're
but
doing
yeah,
the same thing up here, so we're doing only 2 hours, but it still can get tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
that
communication
is
piece
not
is, yeah.
That's not a bad thing. Like it's not selfish to say that, like, oh, you guys got to do town halls so that we have more content to leverage and do what we do, because ultimately it it leads to publicity, it leads to success, it leads to potentially more traffic, new players, infusing new blood into the system. This is all like what you guys do as ambassadors is vital, and we want to encourage that. And if it may be for no other reason, like if the only reason was to do a town hall was to provide you guys with the ammo you need to go to war, well, that's enough of a reason. Like in my book, like like what. So I agree. I mean, I think that's a good thing.
No, yeah, no, I mean, I was joking about that, having the content to fill, but I think one of the things that comes to mind is that it would give us an idea of like when to talk about things too as well, right? Like I know, like how many times have we talked about unlocking soulbound rewards cards? I think it's been sort of done to death at this point. And it's one of those things where like, oh, what, try to ask people, what are you really looking forward to? And that's an answer that's commonly given, because I think that's the thing that's, pretty much been on the top of all of our minds for months now. So it would be great to know sort of if we have like Taylor's saying, like a roadmap or something like that, where like, hey, like this is, we're making this decision. It's gonna, this is where that decision's at, and kind of in the pipeline. So we would kind of know. And even if we just see that, oh, it's stuck in that position, we know it's stuck in that position, instead of every week being like, maybe this will be the week where we're gonna find out about unlocking.
But see, that's exciting
right?
though. Like when you're
Right.
when you expect, like even as you said, like the town halls were kind of like fluffy, and most of the time it was like you are waiting eagerly for the town hall, and then you watch it, and then it's like, ah, well, okay, that was a town hall. But then again, it's like, oh, but next Monday there is another one, and maybe Matt will show up, and maybe he will give some alpha, and maybe that's like in the old times, and maybe he'll say something like some new exciting stuff. So you have that hope for a week, and even if you get disappointed at the end of the week being Monday, you have
There's
next
always
week
something to
something
talk
else
about.
yeah, you have something to look forward to.
Well,
No,
man,
no.
Nate, I don't know. Do you follow Joey on Twitter?
I do. I noticed like when he started putting like what he did that day at work, I was like, what the heck, dude? What are you doing? But then it took me like a quick few seconds, and I'm like, well, now that I think about it, this is not bad. In fact, I am actually surprised that more people aren't taking note of his X account and following him and liking and reposting what he does, because it does seem to speak to some of the, if not alpha, then at least some of the progress that some of the community is yearning for. You get to kind of peek a little bit behind the curtain and see, yes, things are happening, things are being discussed, things are being worked out, solutions are being made, we're making progress, and you don't have to wait for the next town hall to get that reassurance that people are working and doing stuff. Like you can see that with some of his expos. So I was like, okay, yeah, he's not giving any secrets away. Sure, that sounds cool. Sometimes I'll take a peek and say, yeah, what did you do today, Joe? Which I don't really have to worry about, because that guy works like he has the strongest work ethic you will not believe. That guy, like, I'm fearful sometimes that I'm going to get a nasty text message or something from his wife saying, why don't you let my husband ever get time off to like he goes gangbusters, this guy. He has a lot of dedication, a lot of passion, a lot of enthusiasm. His brain is just chock full of ideas that are just overflowing, and he's an ace with the spreadsheet and docs, and just like, in fact, he's the narrative lead, and yet he has taught himself how to learn Figma, some of the UX UI design software, so that he can better I don't know, get in sync and lockstep with the copywriting that sometimes I give him to do. Like, oh crap, Joey, I don't have time to think about every tool tip and what the Academy Pal needs to say. Can you help me out with that? And I've been able to lean on him more and more and more, to the point to where he does a lot of the copywriting now for a lot of the UI that you see in the game. So he's, yeah, I can't say enough good things about Joey.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm glad that you've come around to the idea of being supportive of his tweets, because I really enjoy seeing, like the daily recap. I wonder if there's, if that would serve as an appropriate stopgap for something more visible on Discord. Uh, if we could pull like tweets from the team or something like that into like, I'm sure there's a Discord bot for that could just populate whatever is being tweeted out. But yeah, I think the visibility, because it all boils down to the communication aspect, right? And when it's silent, it feels like nothing's happening. But the reality is, if you follow Joey, you're gonna see there's actually a shit ton of stuff that's kind of constantly being looked at, and some of it's really out of the box stuff that we have really no idea what he's talking about, but it sounds intriguing. It definitely, piques your interest. And yeah, just getting more eyeballs on that. And for those who are curious, I did just toss his Twitter handle into YouTube chat, so give him a follow.
Yeah, what's interesting is internally facing, um, uh, like the wide majority of team members actually provide internal updates similar to Joey. Like, hey, here's what I did yesterday. Here's what I'm working on today. Here's the priorities. Here's, screenshots or development work or design work or whatever. And when you see like this steady stream of all the team members just saying zoom, zoom, zim, and there's like all this work getting done. You're right. It's easy to forget that the community is not seeing all that. It's like, and we get frustrated because it's like, sometimes we'll get some salt, people saying like, yeah, it takes you guys forever to do anything and win this and win that. And it's like, oh, you guys are so slow. Meanwhile, I'm looking every day at like just pages and pages, scrolling and scrolling of all this crap that people are getting done, whether, and so it's like this complete polar opposite perspectives. So I don't know, I'll have to think about how would we present that kind of stuff to the community. I mean, there's so much censoring and stuff that we just can't share, like creators working on stuff a lot of times that is like, so far in advance that, sometimes I'll share a little this, a little that in the town hall, but there's a lot of stuff that we work on that, it's probably better off shared as we get a lot closer to when we'll actually launch something. A lot of times I'll be on town hall and be very apprehensive about what to share, particularly if it's stuff that I know isn't going to be launched for months, and so that's always that's always something I have to come to terms with and say, sure, let's do it. But it does get people's expectations up sometimes prematurely, depending on what it is I'm sharing. So I gotta be careful sometimes.
No,
I
you
mean,
don't.
it's always fun to get the preemptive eye candy, right? Like, even if we know it's purely conceptual artwork or whatever. I mean, I think like, Joey's tweets are a great example. If it's appropriate for Twitter, then it's definitely appropriate for Discord. And I think those two worlds, for the most part, kind of exist independent of one another. I think most folks who are very active on Twitter are not necessarily the most active on Discord, and vice versa. So yeah, kind of marrying the two and bringing something like Joey's tweets into Discord. I think it's a small thing, but I feel like it could go a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So what is do we have any sort of realistic timeline on I'm gonna circle back to what Hep kind of called out a moment ago. The next reward card. So we've heard summer. Is that closer to like end of August? Is that
We
closer
are
to end of May?
we are currently, per Matt kind of like, he didn't whip us, but he did show the whip. He's like, see, I got a whip. I don't want to use it. So where are we at, guys? So yes, we kind of had the fire lit under our butts a little bit. And because he's very serious about like, hey, we gotta close the faucet on the current reward cards. We gotta like, hey, it's time. And that means that yes, we need proper balancing for a wide number of new cards that are going to enter into circulation. At the same time, we have to figure out what was mentioned a little bit ago with the unlocking mechanisms and how that functionality is going to work for the existing reward cards. So that is currently being sorted out. Call Me Tim is at the grindstone trying to go as fast as he can. And I have usually what we do on the creative side is we'll start creating some artwork. In order to utilize my resources as efficiently as possible, I don't like to say, oh, the next reward set is going to be like 40 cards. So we'll make 40 characters, and then when the stats and abilities are figured out, well, here's some 40 different characters to use for your stats and abilities. If we did that, then like a good portion of the artwork would not match the stats and abilities. You'd have a guy with melee attack with a bow in his hand. You'd have freaking people
flying
with
squid.
flying with no wings, and you'd have like it'd be a mess. It would just be like any suspension of belief, there'd be no mental connection between the artwork and the stats and abilities. So what we typically do is we will kind of get a head start. We'll make some artwork, but just a little bit, just to give us some breathing space. And then once we get the stats and abilities, then we go hardcore mode. And then hopefully by the time the dust settles, the little bit of artwork we kind of got a head start with can be applied to this card or that card. And then if there's a little bit of leftovers, that's okay. We'll recycle that artwork for future cards at some point. But we'll see how it goes. Joey has high hopes that we can integrate the next batch of reward cards into the rebellion narrative, the story we're trying to tell with this entire set and all its related child expansion cards. So we'll see how successful we are with that.
Is there any decision like taken for sure? Like, yes, we are going to drop all of the rewards cards at the same time, and it's going to be like in the near future, or is it something that you would consider what was mentioned today, like stages of introducing the rewards cards? Like, is it something that can be influenced, or it's already like kind of in the pipeline? So it is whatever it is for this reward set, and then for the next one, we'll see what we'll think.
No, I don't think any ideas are off the table. Yeah, what Rogue Patton mentioned earlier, that's definitely like we're looking at all our options. Like, I think that I think the community at large probably feels like, well, they're just going to do what they did before. I hope that by now we've proven that, we're willing to adapt and innovate and try new things, because we've tried quite a few new things of late. So we'll continue to do that. We don't want to grow stale and just be set in our ways with a system that maybe is, doesn't really work very well. So what that system looks like is still being debated. We're still trying to figure out, like, up until recently, I thought that it's potentially, I had a shot at, maybe even convincing Matt to just don't do any freaking soulbound reward cards ever. Like, stop that. After this current reward cards are done, they're done. We don't deal with them anymore. Like that was my pitch. I was like,
no soulbound or just no reward cards, period.
No character reward cards, as meaning that like when you play and you go to the reward shop, there's no more character cards that you can get from just playing. That was my pitch. Of course, Matt feels like he said on town hall, well, yeah, we're definitely going to do that. So I was like, Nate got vetoed on that one. and we could get into the reasons why, but it doesn't matter. We're going to do it. We're going to have more character reward cards. So what I would say is that, but as far as the distribution method or how often you see them and how are they just all of it, I think that's all up for discussion. And that is something we're actively trying to sort out. What's the best way to go about doing this? So as soon as we've finalized where we're at based upon analytics and data, and of course community feedback, and what we're hearing from you guys and everything else, then we'll say, okay, given all of this information, this is probably the best way to go, and then we'll share that. So yeah.
Nate, I'm curious, as one of your big responsibility is UX, and obviously that's a huge umbrella of shit that falls underneath that term. Something that really stuck out to me with, I think it was 2 town halls ago, Matt kind of dug his heels in and said, I see the future of reward cards being soulbound. Without them, I don't really feel the compelling pull to come play the game. Did that piss you off? Did that make you feel like, how do you not want to play the game? You know what I mean? Like, is that, do you feel like, is that a symptom? Maybe not piss you off, but did that kind of strike you as, oh, that maybe that's a little concerning? Because I feel like, even if it actually made me want to play more. So I think back to the previous reward set with like Sinesh and Jared Scar, and it was the last set of regular reward cards. As soon as I get them, I want to go play more and see these cards in their full glory and experiment and try and change the meta.
To what you're saying before you go, Nate, the soulbound rewards cards actually make me want to play less more than they ever make me want to play more, because as soon as the game gets to a meta where a card has been pretty much given to everyone else and not me, and it's destroying me in the game, I don't want to play anymore. There was like 3 months where I was just super frustrated with the game because I didn't have Kulu Swim Hunter. He was the meta of the game. I lost to him 9 matches out of my 10 losses in a day, 15 losses. It was just ridiculous. And I'm sitting there with 1 card in champion. I can't play it. And I was like, this is stupid. I can't buy the card. It ruins the game for a lot of us, in my opinion, sometimes, that because it doesn't lend itself to competitiveness. I can't be beat by something and go, damn, I have to have that and go get it. I just have to be beat by it and go like, please, random roll of the dice, gods, please give me the card.
Smile upon me.
Now, I will say the next set should be a tiny bit better because the Glint store has made it so that the randomness can be focused a little bit. Still random, but can be focused. So you can chase that meta card a little bit better now. But to hear him say that he thinks Soulbound's made him want to play more, because in his mind he's looking at it like, well, I'm so well off, I can just buy all the cards and I don't need to play the game. For some of the rest of us, it's like no. Now we're just getting frustrated with that we're missing certain cards and that we no longer can do any of the stuff we used to be able to do with the cards. Because I would have treated my Izars at one point like a 3-1 to get a Kulu because I had that many of that card and no Kulus, but I couldn't do that, and it was very, very frustrating.
Now, no, that's totally understandable that you would have that perspective and that reaction. In Matt's defense, I will say that I highly doubt that he was making this statement with those granular specifics in mind. I think he was making a more high-level principle statement that that if you play the game and proof that you played, almost like as a flex that you played, you have this reward that currently right now during its initial term, is soulbound, and therefore proof that you have put in your time, you've put in your hard knocks, and you have this to show for it. And it's not something you could just throw money at. it's something that you have to earn, and you could wear like a badge of pride and honor that you did what you had to do, you put in your time and your struggles, and as a result you got this thing. I think that to him, when he said that, I'm pretty sure that what he was speaking to, not to say that system doesn't have its flaws, but I think we all hope that over time we could work through those flaws in the system. What's funny is possibly one of the solutions to that system is actually presented as your background right now. So while you're talking, I'm listening to you talk, and I'm seeing that you have essentially the concept art for player housing and the furniture that goes in it. So essentially an aspect of cosmetics that I believe will quite potentially change everything that we're talking about right now at some point in time. So right now, since all we have are character cards, and that's all we have to give as rewards, and that's all that we're so limited in scope on what these rewards can be. And so because character cards are all we have right now, that's all we can give as a reward right now. And because of that, we inflate the supply of cards, diminishing potentially the value of cards that we sell for revenue to keep our company afloat. So it's kind of like, that's why I was like, hey, just get rid of them. That'll make it easier to balance the cards. It'll bring more value to the things that actually bring us revenue. And of course the question is, well, what the heck do we replace it with then, Nate? We can't just give them Glint and then nothing to spend the Glint on. So that's where I'm like, well, I'm hoping one day, we do have something to replace it with, and that's the cosmetics. That'd be like, furniture in your housing, or access to a deed to get more prestigious premium housing, or your custom avatar, special hat, or special, whatever, skins that you can enhance your cards with, that maybe wouldn't, and we have a lot of ideas on what those enhancements can entail, above and beyond just cosmetic social flex. So there's a lot that I see a very bright future to where right now, I bet you and us all feel boxed in a little bit and like, well, what else can we do? There's only so much we can do here. I see a day where there's a lot more we can do. And suddenly we have a lot more options in front of us in terms of whether it's rewards or whether it's adding different meta or gameplay or whatever. Like I think cosmetics is going to do more for the game than people realize.
No, I think you're right. And like a game I don't like nearly as much, I've spent $30 on battle passes, and I get mostly cosmetics and fake things. And if there was a $30 button in this game that got me cosmetics and pretty little things for different stuff, I'd probably be clicking that every month too, because I have discretionary income, but there isn't really discretionary income things for me to buy in this game on a regular basis. My rebellion set's full, my chaos set's full, my untamed set's full. I have 200 lands. I don't want to go too much bigger into that at this point, because it's not doing a whole bunch at this point. So but when you tap out even things for me to buy, you're limiting yourself a little bit. The promo cards come and I buy them and then I wait. So you want to be able to catch the guys like me who would, drop an extra $50 a month in the game on a regular basis, probably, if there were things to buy constantly that were new and fresh.
Yeah. And the other thing too is Nate can talk all day about like, oh, I got the solution to everything. It's cosmetics, and we can do this and this and this and that, and everything will be better. But ultimately, over 6 years, I've come to really respect Matt's vision, Matt's way of doing things. And a lot of times Matt is like so far ahead in his calculations and thinkings that I and a lot of people are just trying to catch up. And so it's quite, I have to believe that Matt has also very good reasons to where once we introduce cosmetics, if he still says no, we still need the character cards as rewards as well, and here's why, and here's like, yeah, fine. I mean, we've gotten this far, listening to what Matt thinks is a good idea. So I don't want to stop now. I mean, the guy's pretty smart. So we have to figure out, like, okay, it's kind of my job to sometimes, if there is UX flaws, like some of the stuff you brought up, then like, okay, well, how can we fix that? What can we do differently? And of course, the community is so smart, like it's so intelligent. It boggles my mind. I have a hard time believing that other games have communities that are this intelligent. And a lot of good solutions and ideas come from the community as well. I think the only downside to a lot of the community ideas is sometimes they formulate these ideas, they incubate these ideas from within the box, and they're not thinking big enough. And so I don't know. I guess that may be partially our fault. Like we gotta be more transparent with, like, okay, look, this is like, to Tails' point, is like, hey, let's have some sort of high level roadmap vision so you guys can kind of see where we're going, and then half these half baked ideas that get proposed left and right will kind of like, oh, well, okay, well, this isn't going to make sense. Then now that we know where the heck the promised land is, we'll be like, okay, let's go back to the drawing board, and we could we could create better ideas born from the community that are even more productive and more helpful than they were before. So there's there's a little bit of a symbiotic relationship, and with the whole DAO and SPS governance and all of that, it's more and more a partnership. It's, I mean, that's the whole point of all this, right? A decentralized gaming, to where the players have not only a stake but a voice in where this thing goes. And it's I don't know, it's incredible to see. We're still in its infancy, right? Whether you're talking about Web3 or GameFi or all of it, it's like everyone's still trying to figure it out. I like to think we have a little bit of a head start there, but we'll see.
Man, I feel like 6 years has to bode well for where we're going. Like we've got to, yeah, we've made some mistakes. We've hit some big fat speed bumps and may have run into a wall or two, but I feel like we're still generally moving in the right direction. And I feel like 6 years we're still here. That's 2 bear markets. That's a solid track record, man. I know that people, to quote our good buddy Bebe there, everybody's looking for the new shiny thing. Well, I feel like there's a lot of maybe old school gamers that would appreciate that what we've been cooking here is tried and true, and we're working on perfecting that recipe, and hopefully in the next year, 18 months, we're much closer to delivering kind of Michelin star level cuisine with everything that we've been working on here. But to your point, Nate, the community here, it continues to, I'm never not surprised with some of the just brilliance that comes out of the community. And I think the symbiotic relationship that you speak to, the DAO lends itself really well to kind of leveraging a lot of that. But something that I would love to see is maybe like organized hackathon style challenges for the community. Like, hey, here's a problem that we're working on for a year from now. Let's brainstorm some ideas in terms of how do we, what does the solution look like? Maybe that's a little bit too much of giving the community a voice in kind of dictating the future of the game. But, I think that's kind of the beauty of Web3 and really embracing the very intelligent community that we've got here. Have you guys done anything like that in the past? Like hackathon style? Not necessarily the coding aspect, but just kind of dictating what do solutions potentially look like and we can
brainstorming
vote
sessions?
on. Yeah, kind of focus group, user group related stuff.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think that I would love to roll into more and more of that stuff, and I think it blends well with what I'd like to see happen. I don't know if it'll happen soon or not, but I think a really critical part of I don't know, internal iterative design. Like you got agile methodologies to where, companies try to uh, be adaptive to the marketplace. They're not, what we call waterfall, where you figure out everything and take years to figure everything out. And then by the time you figure it out, the market's changed or your demographics changed, or things have changed to where you just wasted a whole bunch of effort. So part of the beauty of agile is the fact that internally we're testing and conceptualizing and prototyping and iterating and through this cycle. And then when we feel like, what, we're onto something, we refine it to a point to where this is we believe our hypothesis, our internal testing tells us this should be the right way to go. And the missing component is usually, all right, now let's bleed in the community and the players, give them an idea of like the direction we're thinking of running, or maybe a couple directions, like, hey, A or B, or A, B, or C. Like, here's what we're thinking. Can you guys help us test this out and refine it even more? And right now, once in a while, we'll throw something at the Mavs. I would love to see a huge number of whitelisted players from the community who say, yeah, I'll participate in testing for a rebellion pack, or out of goodwill, or because I want to just be part of it, or whatever. Like, I'm sure we could come up with some incentives though. And then really expand upon, instead of just saying, hey guys, there's something new on Mavs, go take a look. It's more like, okay, testing warriors, let's go to battle. Here's what we're trying to figure out. Here's basically the agenda for the testing session. Not only do we want you to try to break things, but is this intuitive over here? Is that user-friendly over there? Is this what you would do? We're not going to tell you what this does, but does it do what you expect it to do? And then does it do it in a way that makes any sense? And then just hit it hardcore, right? With as many people as possible, under NDA, of course. And then once we go through that process, we decide, okay, does it got to go back to the internal iteration mode, or is it ready for incremental output to where we say, okay, this thing that we made has been tested, it's been refined even further by the community, and now it is ready. It's a fully functional piece. And we're going to go ahead and now we will put it on Mavs. And then after Mavs, we will then, after that, go live. And there's plenty of space and time for people to like look at what's coming, understand it. There's more transparency. To Tails' point, there's more there's just more communication overall over what's being worked on. So instead of treating the current player base as just a whole bunch of beta testers and just chucking out MVPs left and right, we'll have a more polished experience, which I think is, I think after 6 years, we've matured to that level to where I think it is acceptable to start putting out more polished content. And I think it's preferred. I mean, there's a lot of competition in the Web3 space nowadays. And we got to put our best foot forward as often as possible. So I think that there's a lot of value in just cranking things out properly. I don't know if that answers the question, but I guess the bottom line is yes, I think that the more often we can involve the community, and I would like to see that in a more official capacity rather than off the cuff, like get the community more inserted and injected into the actual design and development process. Absolutely.
Sometimes when you answer a question, I don't really even care about the question at some point. Like halfway through your speaking, it's more like I'm just enjoying listening to all your like perspective and all the roads you're taking us, then like who cares about the question, man? I mean, just pour it out.
Well, hopefully it's not like ocean sounds or white noise that's putting you to
No, no,
sleep.
no,
So,
no. It's no, not at
I
all.
think that was more my question. That's the white noise, and you're providing the music, Nate.
Yeah, you're
okay.
feeling the white noise, yeah.
Nice.
But anyways,
Well, cool.
we should not take Django seriously because his hat is backwards always. So I mean,
Oh, yeah. That's definitely true.
That's the dead giveaway. Well, Nate, man, I really want to, we're just passing the 2 hour mark. So, as we start winding things down, I definitely want to acknowledge a couple of folks on your team, Lily and Eagle. Man, you have absolutely hit the jackpot with those employees, dude. I've the amount of, as much as we complain about a lack of transparency and communication, the amount of communication and problem solving and thoughtful response that comes from just those two in particular with like UX, and I see them both very regularly responding in Tavern and to a certain degree in Mav Chat. Yeah, kudos to your squad, man. I feel like the UX channel was a fairly recent discovery of mine, and I I think you'll have to go back a handful of scrolls in the UX channel suggestion, mailbox, to find something that hasn't been acknowledged and or already implemented. So I appreciate what you guys are doing with, kind of that constant suggestion box, and actually having discussion around, are these changes, hypothetically good for the UX, and how can we still address this concern or this objection.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the support team is awesome. I mean, Lily and Royal, who are both in support, just seem to constantly be going above and beyond to the point to where it's not just reactionary. Support is usually reactionary in that someone has a problem and then they got to go find someone to help them, and then they're only talking to the rudest, most upset, most frustrated part of the player base. So it would be quite easy for them to get jaded. But every time I talk to them, they're all smiles, they're all happy, they're very passionate, they can't wait to make everything better. And to their credit, then they go into Discord and they preemptively, to try to almost in a weird sort of way, it's almost like they're trying to get rid of their jobs because they're trying to make it so that there is no angry, frustrated people to go wanting to go complain anywhere. They're trying to address things beforehand, before they get out of hand. They're like, hey, they're asking, how do we make things better? What could we do differently? They're making surveys. They're getting ahead of it so that before people go from kind of annoyed to frustrated to angry, they're trying to tackle things like way over here at the annoyance level, or even before the annoyance level, before it's even, they're like stimulating people to think about things that maybe they haven't even got annoyed at yet. And they're like, now that you brought it up, yeah, that would be nice. Or I don't like that, or I do like this, or whatever. And then they gather that knowledge. So absolutely. I think the real challenge that I have is that with all this overwhelming tide of feedback now, because it's like we got so much of it now, it's easy to get lost in it all. Like it would be very easy to end up in a tail wagging the dog situation if we're not careful, where we try too hard to bend over backwards to appeal to people's maybe perhaps subjective or biased wants or desires to fulfill their short-term needs at the long-term expense of the health of the ecosystem or the game. I mean, that would be very easy to do. Or like if we did a survey and say, hey, what would you prefer, more options or less options? I say this to them all the time. Then of course, no one's ever going to say they want fewer options. So it's kind of like the primary nav. If I left it up to the community, everyone would have a different response on, oh yeah, add this and add this and add this. And pretty soon the primary nav is this one size fits all universal access hallway to every page in the freaking game, and there's like 100 icons up there. We'd end up with very bad UX if we. So it's a tough balancing act, right? We got to figure out like, okay, does this make sense? Does this not make sense? What do we do with this information? And we got to parse it all. And they help us do that as well. So yeah, I again can't say enough about them. They do a great job championing the wants and desires of the community.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, before we wrap this thing up and put a bow on it, Baby Tails, Rogue, Steve, or Hep, you guys, any other topics you guys want to kind of cover in before we call it a day?
Maybe ask Nate what you're doing tomorrow this time.
What? Ask what?
What are you doing tomorrow this time?
I think Baby's casually inviting you to our show if you wanted to do another one.
Oh,
you have been a guest once before. But I understand if you can't give us 2 nights in a row, but it's up to you.
If you can fit us in your calendar tomorrow, 15-minute about it should be it's 11:15 where you at?
Right now, yeah.
So yeah, at 11 we start. I mean, we can probably start earlier if you're up for it, but around 11 p.m. your time, if you're free, we would like to steal you again from Django's, because that's usually he's like warming up guests and then we have them on our show.
Oh, he's just warm up.
Yeah,
I see.
He's the opening act. So
that's oh wow, that sounds like fighting words. I don't know. I'll it's kind of late. I'll look at my schedule.
I appreciate
see
it,
what I
man.
can do.
Yeah, baby, put him on the live hot seat, dude.
Yeah, no, I'll just say congratulations, guys, on the 100 episodes. It's really cool that you pulled that off, and I know you do a lot of work for this, and you spend a lot of time talking with the team, and you're working on ideas and being kind of leaders within the community. So it's always thankful that you do those kind of things, because we've seen some people come and go in our community, and I'm glad you guys are still here.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, man.
Yeah, I'm wondering from you guys. So you guys have all, so many great ideas for the directions of Splinterlands. What direction should we take? What can we improve on in the next 100 episodes? How can we be better? Well, what do you guys think? Any notes for us?
Hepthorn needs to work on a British accent.
I mean, I know it's sorely missing. I don't have all like the funny Cockney sayings either. So I need okay, I'm gonna go to the library. I'm gonna get a book of like weird British sayings. I'm gonna try to start working them into each podcast. There we go. Note taken.
No, man, you guys are you guys are doing great. I'd say, just keep going with the, eclectic guests. I like tuning in every week and hearing, different perspectives, like, going from Tails, where I almost sold all my assets, to, going to, VetV, where I almost doubled down on my investment. It's a nice roller coaster ride. But no, honestly, you guys are doing great. Your deep dives are good. Your guys' research is good. Everything's good. You guys are expanding into the battle royales, a little bit of live feed, get in with some of your audience, get to, know them better. That's always good too. So, because you guys are interacting with the live chat during the battle royal, right?
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah.
And what I would say, just maybe on the podcast, maybe include video as well for the people who actually watch it on YouTube. I mean, it's an optional. You can still hear it wherever you hear it in your podcasts. But for people on YouTube, maybe sometimes, a picture, what was it, worth 1,000 words?
1,000 words. Yeah, I don't know. We haven't talked about this really too much as an option. I like the not having the video. I think it helps people who maybe don't want to be on a video on YouTube be a little more open and
They
a little
can be
more
like
personal with us.
Tails. They can be like Tails.
They could, but that's the thing is for us. So I'll say, which I don't think you probably have a problem saying it, is like when we did the most recent interview with Siler, he was like, "Oh, you guys don't post any video or anything, right?" And I'm like, "No." And so then he turned his camera on, and I think it helped facilitate the discussion a lot better, and it made it a lot more personal, at least for me personally, than being able to like actually see him for the first time and say like, okay, this is the person, right? It's not just the name or the avatar. And obviously, like, no offense to people who don't want to do that, which is, aka Tails. Sorry, Tails. I'm not trying to throw you in the bus here either, but I totally get it, because there's people who, don't want to be like, out there in Dax at all, and that's fine. But yeah, so I kind of push back on that, as I kind of like having just the audio, and I feel like it helps and makes it a little more intimate, at least for us, and in the deeper conversations.
Okay, I was just saying my opinion.
Yeah.
What I get out of that is Hep likes doing the podcast in the nude, and he doesn't want anyone to know.
Well, next time your camera's
Wait a
off,
minute.
Hep, I'll know what's going on, brother.
Trust me.
Hep, why
yeah.
don't
I
you
would have
stand
no
up,
shame
buddy?
in that.
Take a bow. 100 episodes. Take a bow. Why don't you do it?
Yeah, I will say
Demonetized on YouTube.
Yeah, we're not even monetized yet, bro. They
We're
can't
gonna
take it from
we're gonna
us.
set up an
Can't
OnlyFans,
take it from us.
OnlyFans page for that.
There we go.
Yeah, I think doing the audio only kind of forces us to. I feel like the video serves as a little bit of a crutch when you can like share screen, and there's something to be said for an audio podcast. I enjoy most of my podcasts audio only, even though there is a video offering.
But that's why I'm saying there is an option, because you guys are seeing, like, you're seeing each other. Because I know I've been on the episode. You're seeing each other, and you're having the feel that people cannot really feel when they're not seeing you. As like it's just different when you're having the whole conversation. You're getting the whole vibe differently from the perspective, like seeing other people's reactions or whatever it is. Something that it's totally completely different when you hear it, as opposed to when you see it. Like, I don't know, just that part is kind of like, I'm not saying that it's wrong. It's just like some people prefer the audio aspect of it. Some are more visual, because when you're asking question to, let's say, somebody like Nate, maybe his reaction can tell you way more than his words sometimes.
You mean the reaction
definitely-
to like whether or not weapons training was going to be on a summoner? You see that thing he did with his eyes?
You won't see that.
Yeah.
There's definitely pros and cons. I mean, I see the legit pros and cons. Like as soon as you say podcast, I know I can flip it on the radio, and I'm not worried like I'm missing out on anything. Like as soon as you say, oh, there's video, you can imagine Nate trying to look at his phone, getting into accidents. Like, I can't just enjoy hearing it. At the same time, if there was video, then I would expect these guys to be in full cosplay, acting out, Splinterlands characters, and that would enhance the whole experience. But yeah, I mean, there's clearly pros and cons. It's just,
You're absolutely right, though, that creative corner is the most dangerous time to try to drive. Like, go through that whole town hall and everything's fine, and then it's like Nate's turn, creative
We gotta
corner.
pull over.
Like,
Candyman's here. Candyman's here. Then we
Yeah.
gotta get some ice cream man music for when Nate's coming on the show.
Mr. Softy
Ra-
jingle.
Yeah, rally the kids around the bus. Mr. Nate the Candyman is
Yeah,
slinging candy.
that doesn't sound creepy at all.
Oh
shit.
Yeah,
Well,
I
everybody,
do understand Hep's point though. The audio and with no only does allow you to have deeper conversations, more casual, and it makes it easier to flow. Because I know the one problem with Tails sometimes is I don't know when he wants to talk when you can't see a face. So allowing those people to show their face and have just a conversation it has led to some pretty good conversations. So I think you guys have a good mix now with doing the live battle royales.
Yeah.
where
And so
people
many
get to see
people
you.
do, like you guys do great, video and streaming stuff. And so I also do like it as it's just kind of something that's just a little different too, from others. And yeah, it's a good point for Tails. Maybe he needs to get a picture that, the guy has his mouth open Your skeleton has his mouth open, and then you
And
could
he
like flip it
swaps.
back and forth.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Tails
perfect.
about to say something.
I just had my little hand up, raise hand symbol there.
There
Yeah.
you go.
No, but yeah, I would just add to this, great stuff. I mean, 100 episodes is a huge achievement given that you guys are doing like 2 to 3 hour episodes every week very consistently. And, I think the target for episode 101, we got to reach out to Roaring Kitty, get them on, and to the moon we go.
There you go.
Oh man,
Who is Roaring Kitty?
Don't you wish somebody could post a picture of like somebody just like leaning up out of their chair to play Splinterlands a little more and go up hundreds of %?
Yeah,
Yeah,
SPS just moons or whatever. Yeah. Sure.
Roaring Kitty's the like one of the guys who's like one of the leads on the GameStop short squeeze a few years back, and he just like posted on
That wasn't
something.
his name back then, though, was it?
It's not his real name, but that's what he went by.
No.
Yeah.
He had a different username back in the day.
Yeah, well, he had
His
a different
Reddit
one.
username is something else.
He had a Reddit username, and he had a YouTube channel. YouTube and Twitter were Roaring Kitty, and then he was something else on Wall Street Bets. It was something a little more vulgar, I think.
Yeah. I think it was something with yeah.
Deep effing value.
Yeah,
That's what it was. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know the guy. I'll reach out, Tails. Don't get your hopes up, but we'll see.
Chop chop.
Chop. Man, all right. A lot of fun, guys. Nate and Co, congratulations for 6 years. Thanks for taking the time to hop on with us. Looking forward to 6 more and hopefully a big 2024 to round us out, man. I think I speak on behalf of a lot of folks. The excitement was very real yesterday and palpable. It was excitement on a level that I don't think any of us had seen in quite some time. And whether or not there were miscalculations, I think you owned up to that one. It's still achievable. So it was just refreshing to feel that excitement, kind of an electric vibe going through the community. And I was being in Asia. I'm on a very different time zone from most folks, but shout out to our buddy Luis. I was going back and forth with him. He was working the night shift, and all right, man, I'm gonna open up another 1,000 chests. What'd you get? We opened up beta packs together, and it was just something that hadn't happened in a really, really long time. But it was bigger picture. It's really exciting to see that sort of excitement still exists, and we do still have a very passionate and positive community. So congratulations for 6 years, man. Thanks for taking the time to hop back on with us, dude.
No, absolutely. And congrats back at you.
Thanks, man.
And see, Boba Fett told you another option for episode 101. The crew of Splinterlands 101.
The Splinterlands 101 crew. Well, we have a little sneak peek. We've got Cryptomancer coming on next week.
Oh, nice.
So we're definitely going to be twisting some arms and trying to get some alpha out of Cryptomancer around brawls and guilds and maybe conflict stuff. Who knows? But yes, Bob, we will definitely be in touch.
Seeing as I bugged Nate for a roadmap from the team, maybe I can get a People's Guild roadmap on X here. Get that going, Jangles, Slacker. We need to see the next month of episodes. We got to know what's coming.
Yeah,
I've got the next 3 scheduled in. I'll post it up. But yeah, Hap, I think I speak for both of us in thanking Bebe, Tails, Rogue, Steve, Virus, the usual crew. You guys have been fans, vocal fans for a really long time, and there were definitely days where I questioned, does anybody even listen to this effing thing? Like, why are we doing this? But you guys, vocal supporters, and appreciate all the encouragement and hours you put into listening what we babble on about sometimes.
Giving us feedback, jumping into the battles with us, and yeah.
Does it still feel good when we harass you for missing a week?
Yes.
I love it, man.
All right, good.
Man.
No, yeah, it's crazy where you're like, oh yeah, we're like, oh yeah, no. Like my wife's just away with the kids for a week, so I was on a staycation, so we didn't book an episode that week. But yeah, That had like
Yeah,
concert.
worst day of work
Yeah.
ever for me. Jeez, way to think. Selfish.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Appreciate you swinging by. Hopefully you enjoyed the live century mark. I think you guys might have to wait another 100 episodes for another live episode, but hopefully this tides you over, and we'll see you guys next week. For now, you guys have been listening to
People's Guild.
Boom. I think you gotta shut it down over